Thank you for the introduction. It's not my paper, so I'll do my best to convey the idea. And if you have, well, very deep questions, you're probably better off reading the paper or asking Michel per email. But I'll do my best. So you have this setting of the correlated equilibrium where two agents are playing a game, and they are getting an advice from a trusted third party, this TTP on the right. And you have a tuple of actions here that are given privately to the agents. So here you can see that P1 is getting A1, P2 is getting A2, and P1 has actually no idea of what P2 is getting. This is also sampled from this distribution mu. And the good thing here is that after receiving this advice, no player has actually an incentive to deviate from this action. And this is also what makes it correlated in comparison to a Nash equilibrium where they are acting independently. Why do we study CE? Well, CE is a superset of NE, the Nash equilibriums. And also what makes it a little bit more interesting is that it's efficiently computable. And usually you have a better outcome in average. You can take this chicken and dare game on the right here. And it's perfectly imaginable to have the trusted third party only giving you a subset of the CE and like removing the actions on the bottom right here so that you'll have a better average outcome of this game. That's about it, about this slide, yes. Now, there are some problems with implementing C. Well, you saw that there is this trusted third party. This is a pretty strong assumption. How to do it without? Well, you could rely on MPC, of course, but, well, then it's pretty costly in terms of computation. You also need to rely on secure private channels. As you saw, those advice are given like privately to the agents. Of course, there have been prior attempts. So cheap talk was actually formalized by Barani in '92. And it's a 4-player game in his work. And what that person, what he does here is that he simulates the preliminary discussion before the game. And this discussion is non-binding, it's cheap. And so after this discussion, you will have a correlated equilibrium on the game. People have tried to come up with cryptographic solutions to this, and all in all, it's pretty heavy machinery. And people have done it on smart contracts, and well, on the smart contracts, this work, BCGK25, they use OT, so again, it's not cheap talk, right? Also, Schwarzbach has to work on this, and they assume that the smart contract can see the actions, so that it can see and react, which is kind of a big assumption. Their contribution, well, they are in the 2-player setting, which is hard if you consider this in comparison to MPC, for example. It's a very simple protocol, as you will see. It uses smart contracts, sampling of these actions, and also a deposit scheme. So you have this public sampling of advice, as you'll see. Since the advice is public, they can only implement an intersection of the correlated equilibrium with the Pareto optimal. In the paper, they also talk about this extortion that can be run on-chain. Since, well, this chain is not isolated, so you could have another smart contract running another program and doing an extortion scheme. And so this creates another dynamic, right? They analyze this in the paper. Here we're going to focus on the first 4 contributions of the authors. I'm going to take a slight detour to just explain a little bit about what the authors did formally. So you have the Nash equilibrium in green here. You have the correlated equilibrium in blue in the middle on the right here. And you have the Pareto optimum here in red. Here, as I said before, you only can implement this intersection with the correlated equilibrium. So this line here between the red and the blue polygons. And also, since the action advice is public for both players, as you will see, you need some form of non-domination property, which means that you're not worse off having a trusted third party, which is very good because otherwise there wouldn't be any reason to use that protocol, right, instead of a TTP. So the setting is as follows. On the left, we have the typical setting. Here we are on the right with the smart contract that samples these actions randomly and also that discloses it publicly. So everybody knows the action of the other. How does this work? Well, first you have a setup where both parties deposit D0 and D1. And they also agree on 3 timestamps, T0, T1, and T2. And at T0, you have the smart contract sampling the action profiles. Here I'm really abstracting the cryptographic details. I will just skim through about it at the end. But just think about sampling here. At T1, the agents will play their actions. And at T2, well, they will confirm if the other player has played according to the advice that was given in T0. And so if both have cheated and both confirm that the other has cheated, you have B0 is equal to B1 is equal to 0, and both deposits will be burned. If both confirm that they played, the other has played according to the advice, well, you return the deposits. Otherwise, it's only when you confirm that the other one has cheated, it's only his stake that will be burned. It's kind of important that this is the other one's stake that is burned, and your stake is returned, that you don't gain any utility by punishing the other. Now, this protocol, it induces a 2-round extensive form game. Consider this strategy new, where you have a player that plays according to the advice in the first round. And then you have this player that slashes only if the other player is deviating in the second round. So the bit is actually correctly confirming what the other has done. It turns out that the authors proved that nu is a subgame perfect equilibrium. That means that there is no incentive to deviate from the advice. Now, there is something that is important here. There's the renegotiation safety. Basically, you shouldn't want, as an agent, publicly disclose that you want to renegotiate in the game. And it's important, again, because the action profile is public, and they prove that it's renegotiation safe. Now, there are, of course, many applications behind Chicken. Here, they speak about a voting protocol where take this example where you have a budget. You need to vote on putting this budget on 2 projects. And of course, if you scatter the budget on those 2 projects, well, it's going to be weak, right? You're better off like putting all your budget in one of the projects, not 2 at the same time. So here it could be nice to actually have this protocol be run, and the sampling would be either AA or BB. And also here, you don't need any interaction after the signal. The smart contract will handle the logic of the returning or the burning of the deposit. Practically speaking, so the public sampling uses a random beacon. And you also, so here, when you send the confirmation bit, it needs some parallel broadcasting channel. So otherwise, you can game this. By seeing the other confirmation bit, you could game this. So you need some time lock puzzles to kind of remove simultaneous broadcasts that they have introduced there. And their results hold in the computational setting, which is fine, right? And some future, because here it's a one-shot setting, they haven't analyzed some extension to the repeated setting if you would play this game another time and another time. And this could be some idea for future work. So that was it. Yeah. And if you have any question, you can try here. But if it's really deep, maybe email Michel. Thank you.
Okay, we have time for some questions if you want to line up in the microphones. I want to ask, I think, an easy question, which is, okay, you gave the protocols on the modified natural equilibrium that is computable, and you talked about some like generic applications, but maybe can you give some examples of practical things that we can use this on for blockchains? You mentioned voting. I guess on that note, is the class of protocols that we can apply this on only those that are accountable, in which I can prove that my action was X, and if it wasn't, the other party can prove that it was wrong?
Yeah, I guess it's a fair point. So in terms of applications, so there is first the DAO voting, and many of those protocols would benefit from having everybody agree on one decision rather than being scattered. And so if you need any external signal, you would probably need some form of oracle to actually be able to, well, to be sure of what happened, really. I'm not sure they analyzed this in the paper. I think they didn't. But I guess it's a good question for Michel as well, yeah.
All right. Let's thank FX again for the talk and for filling in for Michel.